Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house and family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged, and who was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in bands of cloth, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. There's a lot of grief, pain and anger around this Christmas. It's been a tough old year for all of us, as every part of our lives has been affected by the COVID pandemic. And we seem to be living on shifting sands going into the new year too, with lots of uncertainty around. There's a lot of vulnerability around, financial, emotional and physical, that mustn't be ignored. The world seems in a mess. The world was a mess too when Jesus was born. He was born in an occupied country, subject to the whim of a governor that sent a poor pregnant couple to Bethlehem and later made them and their child refugees in another country. The vulnerable suffered savage injustice then, as they do now. But God, in the shape of a helpless infant, plunged into the mess of humanity and brought a light to the world that can never be extinguished. Things changed forever when God allied God's self forever with the vulnerable, in the shape of a newborn baby who was the Messiah, Emmanuel, God with us. Perhaps one of the most important things we learn from the Nativity story is simply that the holy is found in the vulnerable, that they are inextricably linked, and that we have a care for both the holy and the vulnerable, including perhaps when we find them in ourselves. How can we give to others what we cannot give to ourselves? The love of God for God's world is encapsulated in the image of the vulnerable, loved and cared for. It's all there in that manger full of newborn baby and full of God that we will greet on Christmas Day. It's there in the light that can never be extinguished, the light that is Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us, and it's with us now. We're invited in the Nativity story to interpret for today the truths of the story of God and humanity. That God comes to us where we are, whatever mess we are in. That the holy and the vulnerable are ever present in others and in us. It's in everything, and it is the hope and joy we see in a manger full of baby. Jesus is the good news. The reality of God comes to birth in our world, time and time again. This reminds us of the need to love and the need to act justly. This is the thing that will sustain us and strengthen us, bring us close to God and give us the hope and the joy that we need. A realistic joy that will sustain us and bring us closer to God in the best and worst of times. A deep joy that looks forward in hope to better times next year's, but knows that in all things God is with us always. So go well this Christmas, and may the light of the Christ child meet you this Christmas season in the reality of your life. May you know joy. May you know peace. May you know hope. Questions to reflect on. How can seeing the vulnerable and the holy in ourselves draw us closer to God? How can we live with joy in difficult times?